5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Deducter bringing you Hwaseung Oz versus Hwaseung Khan Set 1 playing the Pro League on the 3rd of July. Today we have Deer versus Stork. Surely everybody was hoping for a Stork versus Jaedong game. Instead, Hwaseung deciding to send out Deer here as the yellow Protoss player at the 11 o'clock position versus Stork as the brown Protoss at the 5 o'clock position. Or apparently he is the red Protoss on the minimap. He appeared brown. Anyway, Stork is the red Protoss at 5 o'clock position. They are in cross map position. This is the map. New Empire of the Sun. So I've been commentating quite a few ODT games recently, and it's nice to see a few maps outside of New Bloody Ridge, Gladiator, and La Mancha over and over again. So that's the great thing about Pro League. So many different maps, so many different players. Anyway, I would say this is surely one of the bigger matchups between the two teams. Hwaseung Khan these days not really performing too well, although Hwaseung outside of Jaedong doesn't really have many players either, maybe Haya at best. Both teams arguably not in the best shapes of their history, I have to say. However, there is one important thing to note, which is that everybody, I'm sure, was hoping for Jaedong versus Stork game, but instead, Hwaseung has sent out this Protoss free. I mean, not free, Deer. I apologize about that. Deer to try to fight against Stork. Deer is a very new player. He's played a dozen games or 10 games or something like that. So usually when a player plays that few games, I don't look at any of their records. I just think it's fairly pointless to look at with so few games under their belt. Stork, of course, I would argue, is certainly, well, I don't want to say best PvP players of all time, but certainly one of the best. I think that everybody can agree with. So Stork should be able to destroy Deer here with one arm tied behind his back, except Stork has kind of been slumping lately. He has been performing quite poorly in his games. He is seeded into the round of OSL 16 because he was the finalist, the silver medalist, I should say, in the last game, and Free really choosing, I mean not Free, Stork. I keep saying Free for some reason in this game. Ugh. It's because Free, I don't know, I guess I have Free on the mind because I'm so disappointed by his performance, and this is kind of the same with Stork here. Stork, not doing too well these days. We haven't seen him in the Star Leagues, of course, because he is seeded into the round of 16 of the OSL, so he's not in the ODT. It looks like Stork is going to get a nice scout here of Deer's base. I don't know why I keep seeing Free. I apologize. Anyway, Stork also with a Zealot in front of his base, blocking the entrance there. Deer is doing his best to send a Zealot to chase around Stork's probe, but he has thus far failed to accomplish anything except force the probe to run around in circles, which the probe can do pretty much indefinitely. The probe has seen the cybernetics core spinning. It has seen the Dragoon coming out. Interesting to note that Stork has opted to build 3 Zealots early, as opposed to usually Protoss players might go for 1 Zealot, perhaps, and Deer taking a bold risk in this game, putting down an early Nexus, hoping that Stork is not going to send his probe back around to scout. If Stork does so, he is going to be in some serious trouble, I have to say, because Stork will be able to respond quite well to this, I think. So, the last time I commented his Stork games, I believe, was when he lost to Stats twice in a row versus KT Roaster. That was certainly unexpected, even though Stats is a very good player. I feel Stork should have, at the very minimum, won one of those games, preferably the Ace game. Obviously, the Ace game is what you want to win in Pro League if it comes down to that. Best of all, I think, is if you never actually get to that point from the perspective of the team, from the perspective of the fans. Ace matches are very exciting, so personally, I often hope that games go for an Ace match, and a Templar Archives going down here for the new player, Deer. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to accomplish. He's put down a relatively fast expansion, and he's going for Dark Templar at the same time. Whereas Stork has put down his Robo Bay and a second gateway. It does not appear Stork is trying to figure out what's going on. He hasn't tried to sneak a probe by. And maybe he is letting Deer seize too much of the initiative in this game. Let's see what Stork does. Does he put down the Robo Bay, or does he put down the Observatory? I fear if he puts down the Observatory, he could actually be in some serious trouble. He puts down the Observatory. I don't think Dark Templar is going to be able to accomplish much, but at this point, Deer has seized a decisive economic advantage. His base has been allowed to, his natural base has been allowed to be established unmolested here. And Stork is nowhere close to setting up his expansion. It looks like perhaps he's thinking about doing that just now. Deer only now sending out a scout. That's going to accomplish absolutely nothing running into this wall of dragoons there. So Stork, sneaking his probe by, he has seen the cannons. I think he suspects an expansion is up. The thing is, he doesn't know when the expansion was put up. He could think, maybe this guy only put the expansion up just now. Interesting to note that Deer actually put two cannons in front. You almost never see Protoss players do that. He must have been seriously worried about a counterattack coming from Stork when he put down his expansion. He thought perhaps Stork would go for an early break. That's the only reason why I can think of that he did this. Dark Templar is coming out here for Deer, but he's marched it sort of in a silly manner directly at Stork's base. Stork is going to see that with his observer, so he knows exactly what's coming his way. That Dark Templar is going to accomplish absolutely nothing. So I'm not quite sure. And there's a High Templar already out for Deer. Deer playing a very unconventional PvP, I have to say. This is bizarre play coming from the rookie. Not necessarily a bad thing. I think Stork is going to get quite thrown off by this when he sees all these things. And Stork appears to have been behind one step the entire time this game. Only now is he putting down his Templar archives. And the only slight advantage Stork has is he will have 4 gateways. Although at the same time, 2 more gateways are morphing here for Deer. And Deer has got 3 High Templar out. Maybe he wants more Archons or something. Archon's terrible against Dragoons, so he surely must be using those for Storm. His Solitary Dark Templar in the front there, getting picked off, absolutely no problem. Now Stork scouts all those High Templar. He sees there's no Robo Bay this entire time. Stork must be completely confused here. He has no idea what sort of build is coming. Oh, okay, maybe Stork knows what's coming. He is a pro gamer after all. I certainly don't know what Deer is hoping to accomplish this game. Those early High Templar, though, will have stored up a lot of energy by the time a battle is fought. So those High Templar will be able to get off 2 storms each, probably, which is a lot of damage. Neither player really going for Reavers at this point. Photon Cannon going down the main there for Deer. I think always a wise maneuver. At the very least, it keeps the observer from parking itself right over the Nexus. High Templar coming out here for Stork. He's loading them up into the shuttle. Perhaps he's going to try for a Storm Drop. That could certainly even the game up. But Deer does have 2 Dragoons. While he has 4 Dragoons in his main, 2 at his natural, he has forces to defend quite well. Basically, it appears that Deer has decided that this match is going to come down to one big battle in the middle, and he did everything he could to maximize his chance of winning that. He's put down a very early expansion. He's got High Templar super early, so they have plenty of energy for Storm. Whereas Stork will lag in those respects when the battle is fought, assuming he doesn't delay the battle too long. 2 more High Templar coming out here for Deer. They are spotted by the observer for Stork, so Stork knows there are tons of High Templar everywhere now. And a blanket of storms certainly would be very devastating to what is usually the Dragoon-heavy Protoss army. Even Zealot-heavy army would have problem with storms because Zealots are smaller. Storm can catch so many more of them at once. Observer going to spot these 2 Dragoons. Good move by Stork here. If he has sent his shuttle in blindly, he could be in a bit of trouble there. He might yet opt to sending his shuttle on a suicide mission, though. Maybe he just wants to drop 2 storms. Certainly if he has speed, he could definitely risk it, but it appears he does not want to do so at this point. Shuttle coming out here for Deer. Looks like he is going for a storm drop. He is not being anywhere near as cautious as Stork. Stork only has the 1 Dragoon, but Deer spotting that is forced to back off for now. so Deer not bring his observer in to take a peek at what's going on. Stork still with his Shadow parked outside the natural of Deer, and Deer now moving out with +1 upgraded Zealots, +1 attack upgraded. Stork does not have +1 on his own forces, and Stork now moving his Shadow directly to those two Dragoons. He's Stormed, but those Storms doing absolutely puny damage. 3 kills on that 1 Templar. Surely he hoped for more. Deer with excellent reaction time, I would say. That was very, very nice move by Deer. And could Stork be taken out by the rookie here? He just lost his Shadow and 2 Templar. I was sure he would at least angle his Shadow so that it didn't fly directly over the 2 Dragoons or something like that. Deer pushing out. He's also set on another expansion. He has the army and the economic advantage. The only hope for Stork is and the upgrade advantage. Basically, as I said, he's done everything he can to optimize his encounter here. He optimized his chances of winning this encounter against Stork in the field. Stork, though, is a brilliant tactician, and it looks like Deer is setting up a pylon at the 4 o'clock to stop Stork from putting it on base. Big battle might very well catch up here, and if Stork gets his army caught on the ramp, it would be a disaster. But Deer not electing to seize advantage of that opportunity. Deer coming in with Zealots and a single Templar. His Storm drop similarly quite puny, 4 kills, but big battle down in the middle, a Storm all over each other's forces. It's hard to say what player has the better storms. I think Stork has actually stormed quite a few of his own army. I don't know whether those are Stork storms or Deer storm or what's going on, but both sides forced to pull back from now. What definitely happened was that most of Stork landed on Stork's units. At the end of the day, I couldn't quite tell whose storms that was, so Stork definitely came out on the short end of that exchange there. Deer has his base set up and is sending probes there, it looks like. Stork not with his 3rd base, close to being set up. He has managed to take out Pylon. Storm coming in, I think that was Deer, and Stork counter-storming. Both players with these screening storms not really doing too much damage on either side. Both armies fairly equal here at the moment. Deer still sending in his Templar, a good storm there, going to weaken a lot of those units, morphing to Archon just in time. Now, big battle going on. Stork pressing ahead with his army. He's got a Dark Templar in the mix too. Looks like Deer has a secondary force. He's going to bring to flank Stork when Stork does not expect this. And Stork still doing very well. He's got reinforcements on. A nice storm all over Stork's Dragoons. A second great storm. Those Dragoons are severely weakened. However, Stork has taken the field because he is a genius at winning these Protoss vs. Protoss field battles. Despite the fact that Deer has done everything he could to maximize his chances of victory there, Stork still taking the field. That is a sight to behold. Stork is a genius at these exchanges. He has used this opportunity to put down another base, and at this point, Deer still with the clear economic advantage. Obviously, he has up 1 base on Stork. He's also put down a lot of cannons to defend. He seems super paranoid about either an attack or some sort of dropping coming. And that's actually a pretty good idea, I think. That base can be easy to defend because to assault it, you have to go down 2 narrow ramps. +2 attack upgrade finished for Deer here. He's managed to mass up his Templars again. Stark pushing out. I'm not sure whether he wants to force the engagement or try to kill the base there at the 10 o'clock position. Stork has managed to establish his 3rd base. This might be a longer PvP, and you can see Stork being much less profligate, I have to say, with his cannons. He only put down 1 at his base at the 4 o'clock expansion, it looks like. So both players really evening up the army a bit. I think, considering, and that Archon has been glitched around Stork's main there. That was kind of hilarious to watch. And that, seeing a High Templar by Deer causing a bit of damage, but not too much. But Deer, with his economic advantage, has translated it into a bigger army. He's got more Dragoons, it looks like. Fewer Zealots. Stork is running quite a bit Zealot heavy. Also, where's his Archon that he morphed in main? Archons are quite useful against Zealots. That's, I guess, what Deer actually needs. Deer, I think he should definitely have the military advantage again at this point because he's held on to his economic lead. But Stork has evened it up at this point, so Deer cannot afford to lose this battle. He might be thinking about setting out an expansion, and Pardon me for stuttering. There's a big battle here, or mumbling, I should say, not stuttering. There's a difference. So Stork being chased back here, but all the forces of Deer are strung out in a line there. If Stork had chosen that opportunity to attack, he might have actually done quite well. As it stands, Deer has managed to get all his units in the middle. Stork is forcing engagement on this ramp here. Deer bringing out most of his forces to try to surround Stork, but Stork retreat. Deer coming in from two sides. Big battle. Nice storms all over Stork's forces. I think Stork might be getting the worst of that exchange. Tons of storms going off on his units. Stork though with tons of zealots. And Deer, how did he get that second army out? Where did he get those zealots and that dragoon for absolutely brilliant surround on Stork's army? And Stork, I fear, may very well lose this battle. Deer with tons more reinforcements. And Stork getting his army caught by a three-pronged attack there. Still, he's fighting very hard. Ultimately, I fear he will likely lose. And that Archon is glitched for precious few seconds there. That could not be a worse timing for things to not work out there for Stork. Stork still trying his best to fight. Storm over that Archon, weakening a lot of zealots there of Deer, but I don't think he's going to care. He's set up his another base. Now he's the only one with units on the map, it looks like. Stork has a few zealots. He is using these few zealots absolutely brilliantly, dodging a storm, picking off 3 weakened zealots by Deer there, and a lot of those units are probably probes being transferred. So Deer does not quite have an overwhelming military force. And Stork sending a solitary zealot there to at least cause some havoc. He needs to buy time. Stork has no choice now but to buy some time for his units. He needs to build more than zealots, though. He definitely needs to fix mixing a few Templar and Dragoons into his army again. But Deer really just churning out the army. If Deer were wise, he would force another battle right now, which I think he should be able to take no matter how great Stork is. And Stork, how did he survive that three-pronged attack as well as he did? I don't know. And how did Deer sneak that army around? That was actually a brilliant bit of maneuvering by the Protoss rookie. It caught me off guard completely. Surely it surprised Stork too. That was a very nice maneuver, I have to say. So both players playing well. Stork has units on the high ground overlooking his natural. He's also established his 4th base, and Deer sort of letting the economic advantage slip away from his grasp. He is not really trying to pressure Stork too much. It seems he always wants to mass up enough of an army before attacking, and he likes to maneuver his forces around, but he doesn't seem to really want to force a battle. But now Deer might be going on defense. He might be catching Stork's units out of position. No, Deer backing off, not willing to engage those High Templar. Deer might be going for Stork's natural. Stork will have no choice but to fight if Deer does this. Deer has managed to position himself over Stork's natural. However, storm going off over Deer's forces. Deer sending a few units, it looks like. Wow, his units. Okay, now he's going for the natural. It appeared he was a bit indecisive there. Stork, of course, will have no choice but to bring in all his army. And Deer really sort of waffling back and forth, not quite sure what he wants to do. Great storms all over Deer's army. Now Deer counter-storming over Stork's forces. This time, I think Stork getting the better off the storm exchange. Stork losing a shuttle there. And Stork with a good attack. Unfortunately, Deer's force is just too much for Stork to handle, it looks like. Stork forced to morph all his Templar into Archon, but they're not going to come out in time, and I fear Deer is going to win this game. Deer with the high ground advantage, despite great storming by Stork. Deer also with the economic advantage. So good game by Stork. Some more storms going off, but at this point it is too late. Deer has too many units. Stork is going to lose the game to a rookie. It does appear that the early economic advantage that Deer seized has been too much, even though Stork's overall control of his units has been very good this entire game. Deer with 3 Archons, 8 Dragoons it looks like, and more Zealot reinforcements streaming into Stork's main. Stork has lost his natural at this point, and soon enough the gateways will be under fire. Stork fighting valiantly. You can see he's still microing his Dragoons. He microed to pick off the 2 Archons, and Deer I don't think cares at this point because, well, he's just got so many more units he can send in. Stork persisting with his battle. He's even sending the probes in. The storm now all over the probes. More storms coming out all over all sorts of units. And Stork has to be commended at least for holding off this assault for as long as he has. He is fighting very hard here, but he has no choice but to GG at this point. Stork losing to a rookie, and that is quite unfortunate, I have to say. Going on to set 2.